What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to some Dungeon Defenders 2. This one, as promised, is the top 15, not 10, top 15 tips and tricks for new players in 2022. So if you're just starting out in Dungeon Defenders 2, this video is for you. Now, first things first, tip number 1. Keep your expectations in order and expect the grind. If a game has the words Dungeon Defenders in the title of it, you can expect that game to be a massive grind game, which is great fun for lots of folks, and then other folks get a little caught off guard by the level of grind it takes if you really want to push through the game to end game. Now, you can have a very enjoyable experience just playing through the campaign. However, if you want to get to end game and play the end game content, you are gonna be grinding. So, shy of having a friend carry you through the content or busting out your credit card and being a wallet warrior, you will have to grind. So, just get ready for that. People that are really decked out in-game players have literally thousands of hours into Dungeon Defenders 2. Moving right along, right after you complete the tutorial, you're going to be able to unlock the Monk. Now, this is going to give you the 4 original heroes, and you always want to keep 4 heroes in your deck. Doesn't matter what the heroes are. Even if you're not using the heroes, always keep 4 heroes in the deck. And the reason being is the experience you gain is additive depending on how many heroes you have. So, for example, if you play a map and that map rewards 10,000 experience and you only have 1 hero in your deck, you're going to earn 10,000 experience. If you have 2 heroes in the deck, you're going to earn 20,000 experience, or 10,000 each. 3 would be 30,000 experience, or 10,000 each, and then by having all 4, you're going to get the maximum amount of experience available for that particular map. In this example, that means you would get 40,000 XP for completing the map just by having all 4 heroes in the deck. Now, the game does not do a great job of telling you what to do after you complete the campaign. However, if you look through the tabs, they're not directly in order, but they're sort of in order. Once you complete the campaign, you are not going to be at the max level yet. Level 50 is the max level. You're probably going to be somewhere between 25 and 35 after completing the campaign. The next step is a need versus want. Some players are going to want to jump right in and get started in Expeditions or Onslaught, and you can do that. However, the original experience intended is for you to go to Adventure Mode next. Now, Adventure Mode will be the next step, and it is going to not only get you to level 50 without a doubt, but it's going to give you the only free gems you can get in the game. By completing the first 3 zones in Adventure Mode, you are going to unlock 150 gems per zone. That, of course, is the premium currency. The only other way you can ever, in any way, get those for free, there's not. This is it. It's only by doing those first 3 zones in Adventure Mode. So, by all means, hop on into Adventure Mode after you complete the campaign and get your free gems. The free gems are there. It's $4.50. A lot of times, bag space, for example, is on sale, and you'll be able to pick yourself up an extra bag just by having those gems. So make sure you get the gems. Just hold on to them. It's not enough to do anything without. However, if there is a sale going, you are going to be able to pick up an extra bag. Next up, I wanted to talk about shards. Shards are really the building blocks of the game. Without shards, nothing happens in the game. Shards are the most important thing in the game. When you first jump in, a lot of people will instantly want to start jumping onto mods and saying, oh, look at this mod, look at that mod. Do not look at mods until you get shards, because they're not going to get you anywhere. Shards are where it's at. Shards are what you want. Now, with that in mind, the 3 most powerful shards you're going to want is the Destruction Shard from Chaos 1. Destruction Shards are going to drop from Chaos 1 shard packs, and remember, it's a chance to get them. There's no pity system, there's no mercy. Sometimes, if you're grinding these, you're going to grind and grind and grind and grind and not find the shard you want. That's just how probability works. However, you are going to want a whole lot of Destruction Shards from Chaos 1, Deadly Strike Shards from Chaos 3, and Defense Rate Shards from Chaos 4. With a good abundance of these 3 shards, you're going to be able to get through the majority of the game's content without worrying about anything else as far as gear goes, other than just picking up the gear you get or the best things you find as you're completing maps. So focus on those 3 shards. Now, with that in mind, shard gilding. You see these shards have that little gold bracket around them, and this shard does not. And this is Deadly Strikes, and this is Deadly Strikes. Now, there is a shard gilding system in the game. What this means is once you get 11 of one shard, you can combine those shards to create a more powerful shard. So looking at an example, a fully upgraded Deadly Strike Shard is going to increase the defense range of an effective tower by 39%. However, a gilded Deadly Strike Shard is going to increase that defense range by 52%. Well, how do you gild shards, you say? Well, as I mentioned, it takes 11 of them. You're going to have the one shard that you want to gild, and then you're going to need 10 more of that shard type on top of it, and 2 million gold or 2,000 defender medals just to convert those 11 shards into one gilded shard. Did I mention the grind? Yep, there is going to be a little grind in DD2. Now this moves on to our next topic, and that is with shards completely spamming your inventory. That's where they get you, y'all. This is a free-to-play game. They got to make a living, and this is how they do it, or one of the ways they're doing it. If they spam your inventory full of shards, you are going to need more inventory space. There is never a way anywhere in the game or outside of the game to get inventory space for free without paying for it. You've got to buy the inventory space. So if you're going to spend any money in Dungeon Defenders 2 whatsoever, the first thing you should always go to is getting inventory space. Once you've reached the maximum amount of bags for inventory, then you're going to want to start considering vault space. And then if you intend to really play this game long term, you're going to want to think about a crafting material vault. The crafting material vault is going to hold an absolute ton of materials and is going to free up a lot of inventory space for you. Now, if they would have made a shard vault, that would have been pretty darn sweet, but no, we don't have a shard vault. Obviously, it would have been a bit of a pain with some shards being upgraded to level 1, some to level 10, etc. Next up, we're going to talk about mods. I mentioned shards are the building block, and that's what you should focus on. You really don't need any mods at all in any shape or form until you start pushing into endgame. Shards, however, will get you to that point. Now, if you find a 10 out of 10 shard, do not get rid of it. Some folks will think, oh, well, I got this 10 out of 10 shard, but it's on a campaign relic, or it's on a Chaos 1 pair of boots, or it's on a Chaos 5 weapon. Nobody's going to want it. There is an upgrading system in the game where you can upgrade items to advance them in their, or evolve them, from, say, Campaign to Chaos 1, Chaos 1 to Chaos 2, Chaos 2 to Chaos 3, all the way up to the top. So, without a doubt, save any 10 of 10 mod you find. Now, with that note, there's not a whole lot of mods that are really, really ideal mods, and there's many more junk mods in the game than there is good ones, so don't get your hopes up too high if you do find yourself that 10 out of 10 Gobsplosion chip, or whatever the case is. That mod is a complete piece of junk. However, just for safety's sake, don't sell any, or don't scrap any of your 10 out of 10 mods. Now, since we talked about evolving and upgrading, we have to talk about the crafting system. There is a tinkering system and then the regular evolving system. So, say for example, we want to take this Protean Cleaver up to Chaos 8. We can evolve that item by using our crafting materials, in this case, the amps, in this case, plain motes, in this case, another amp, and now it is Chaos 2, and you can keep evolving this all the way up to the top. However, crafting materials are a big part of the game. In addition to just the evolving system, there's also a tinkering system that will allow you to move mods around, which is also going to consume even more crafting materials. So with that in mind, crafting materials are a hot item. So if you are absolutely desperate to get yourself a little gold, one of the easiest way to do it is to sell your crafting materials. Now here's the downside. You are going to regret that later if you do. Although it is an easy form of getting yourself some very quick gold, you're going to need 100 times more crafting materials than what you currently have to progress all the way through the game. So if you want to play through to end game and you want to deck out some end game heroes, save all those crafting materials until you get there. Once you get there, you can decide what you get rid of. Now, tip number 11 is always play in a group. As someone joins your match, you're going to see that the number of guaranteed legendary items is increased, which means just by playing with one other person, you are guaranteed to get a legendary victory chest every time. So you're new to the game, you don't have any friends in the game, you don't know who to play with, you can always meet some folks in town, or just start your games as public. When you go ahead and queue up a new game, make sure to make it a public match. That way, it's going to show up in the browser and other people can join you. Now, when you do make these public games, you are kind of expected to be the one that does the building and carries the group, so keep that in mind. However, you will always want to play in a group to get that increased loot. Now, next up, I want to talk about tooltips. This is what I mean by a tooltip is when you are inspecting your defense and seeing like the DPS number is what everyone is going to initially go to. Tooltips in Dungeon Defenders 2 are historically a complete train wreck. More importantly, when you're looking at someone else's tooltips. So if you go over and look at someone's defense and say, oh my god, this thing is doing 50 billion DPS, it's not doing 50 billion DPS, y'all. It is a tooltip visual error. Now, the tooltips on your own defenses are going to be wrong quite frequently. However, tooltips looking at other people's defenses are going to be wrong almost 100% of the time. So don't bother inspecting other people's defenses thinking you're getting some great insight into what is going on there, as the number is just an absolute complete joke. So ignore the tooltips, y'all. Ignore the tooltips. Next up, I wanted to talk about countering enemies. This game is a strategy game. It is a game about countering enemies 100%. Now, you're going to see you can go through and look at the individual expedition tiers, and it is going to show you the special enemy for that tier. For example, Chaos 1 here, the special enemy is the Vanguard. It's a highly trained deflection expert and master of frontal shield defensive tactics. This particular enemy is going to absorb almost all damage from projectile-type towers. So the counter to this enemy is don't use projectile-type towers, y'all. It's just that simple. The base game is about using the correct defense versus the correct enemy. It's not a game about putting together mods so you can beat this difficulty. It's use the right defense for the job at hand. It's the same as many other tower defense games. If you look at just kind of a generic tower defense game where a lot of games out there will have like armored enemies, armored enemies are always going to be taking increased damage from magic type damage, so against those types of enemies, you're going to want to use a magic-based tower. Dungeon Defenders 2 is no different. Each Chaos difficulty has its own counter. Chaos 1 is the Vanguards. Chaos 2 is going to be the Cyborgs. Orc units utilize rare elements in their weapons and armor to serve to disable a variety of traps, auras, and nodes. So what's the counter here, y'all? You're just a brand new player, you don't have any fancy mod or shard setups. The counter is use the correct defense. So if your traps, auras, and nodes are going to be disabled, then don't use traps, auras, and nodes. It's just that simple. Chaos 6 has got the Hex Thrower. It's a ranged enemy that will throw all the way across the world. You're in Amsterdam, I'm in San Francisco. Your Hex Thrower can hit me from over there. They just got stupid, crazy range. There's only one counter to a Hex Thrower, and that is don't give them something to destroy, or put it behind some form of protection, which we'll get to here in just a moment. Now, moving on along to, this applies to everyone, but more particularly console players. Always use split screen, y'all. It's a grind game. It is a massive grind, and a big part of that grind is going to be you going through and collecting the mod reroll tokens, or collecting some form of crafting material. That is going to be a large portion of your grind. By playing split screen, you are cutting that grind time in half. Now, with that in mind, Chromatic has said that people can dual box or run two Dungeon Defenders accounts at the same time on PC. They did say don't go overboard, so don't go more than two. However, you are going to have to use a third-party software to make that happen, as you can't just split screen it with an additional controller like you can on consoles. And then tip number 15 is don't sweat the new heroes, y'all. Everybody, it's a free-to-play game. The first thing you want to do is unlock new heroes. Well, you don't need any of these heroes. None of the heroes are required. You can make it through, or 99% of players, or pardon me, 99.99999% of players can make it through their majority of their experience with just the original 4 heroes without ever unlocking another hero. Heroes are a want versus need thing. You don't need them, but you want them. Now, obviously, I've got them all unlocked. You're going to want to get them all unlocked. And I'm not saying don't get new heroes, because new heroes adds more fun, and it is a grind game, so make sure you're having fun. Now, I do have to say, as a lot of people ask, is what is the first hero to unlock? Unlock the hero that looks like the most fun to you. However, if I personally was starting fresh, the first hero I would unlock is going to be the Series EV2. The reason being is the Series EV has a Reflect Beam, which is a direct counter to one of your Chaos tiers. Remember, Chaos 6 has those Hex Throwers in. Chaos 6 can completely be countered just by throwing a Reflect Beam in front of anything you are worried about being destroyed. So not only is the EV a very strong builder in super late game, it also is a direct counter to one of the special enemies in the Chaos climb. So as you're climbing through the Chaos tiers, Reflect Beams will do it. Now, as I mentioned, get the hero that looks like it's the most fun to you. However, after thousands and thousands of hours, if I was starting fresh, this is the hero I would go with, is the EV. And then we got one bonus tip for you, y'all, so it instantly turned into top 16, and that is the pity system and rerolls. You can re-roll your mods. You're going to be able to re-roll your mods using pristine tokens. Now, once again, this is another crafting material, and it is back to the grind. So you are going to be grinding and grinding and grinding. Let's see. Let's find something to re-roll here that I can do as an example. Let's say we want to re-roll this Shatterquake mod because 9 out of 10 is just not good enough. We do want a 10 out of 10 mod here. So if we go to our crafting menu, we see this is where we upgrade it, where we can evolve it from one chaos tier to the next, where we can advance it from a blue item to a purple item to a legendary item, etc., etc., or we can re-roll. Now, you can re-roll main stats using pristine talismans, and you can re-roll mods using pristine tokens. Now, as I mentioned, there is a pity system in. That pity system is 286 rerolls. Where that number came from, I don't know, but that is the number. So after you re-roll something 286 times, on the 287th roll, it is always going to be a 10 out of 10 mod. So no matter what, it comes back down to that grind and getting those crafting materials, as you know, you are going to get lucky with some rerolls, and you're going to get them after 10 rolls or 5 rolls or 200 rolls. However, the pity system is a straight 286. So 286 rolls will get you your 10 out of 10 mod. And yes, that does mean that these endgame players that you see that have all these 10 out of 10 mods all completely decked out, oh, they have re-rolled thousands and thousands of times. That is for certain. So 286 re-rolls, 287 is the winner for the pity system with re-rolls in Dungeon Defenders 2. So hopefully that helps folks get their way through the base game. It is a super fun game, it's a grindy game, it's a buggy game, but it is an absolute joy to play. There's just no doubt about it. So if you have any more questions or comments, make sure to let me know down below, and I will see ya next time around. Take it easy.